Alrighty, welcome into a special edition here of the Pennsylvania High School Football Report. Eric Epler from PennLive, my colleague Dan Sostek. We are joining you from Rocco Hortensio Stadium.
The state champs, the three-time state champs now?
You have to hit, if we're going to show up at a camp and do the podcast, we have to hit the defending 5A champions. That is Bishop McDevitt. These guys are getting ready to suit it up, practice. We are midweek in camp, on the first week of camp, and obviously Bishop McDevitt's going to be another huge player, not only in district realm, but obviously the state realm. So we're going to grab a couple players here, but first, your first impressions of the returning cast and of Bishop McDevitt.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Like, usually if you're losing the state of Pennsylvania's all-time leading passing touchdown recorder, you would think, maybe they take a step back. I don't think there's any expectation of that here. This is another loaded Bishop McDevitt football team. Tons of Division I talent all across the board. Tons of young players that are still kind of looking to make their mark.
Right.
They've got a ton of depth, which, as we all know, especially when you're not playing 6A, when you're playing 5A, that's huge. You could argue they have more depth than a lot of 6A teams too.
I would agree with that.
It's just as you say, you never, when you show up to McDevitt spring camp, you never know who's going to be there, and we show up and we see some pretty talented kids here.
Yeah, there's always a little movement, we'll call it, when it comes to Bishop McDevitt. Just like any other private school, some guys come in, some guys go away. This year's no different, although it's not exactly a new look Bishop McDevitt team, that's for sure, other than you mentioned the big loss, graduation of Stone Saunders. But we're going to bring in a guy here shortly who is the heir apparent to the 13,000-plus yard passer in Stone Saunders, now a freshman at Kentucky. And we talked about this a lot, Dan. If you're going to be a quarterback at McDevitt, you expect a certain amount of pressure. You expect this, but you're also going to be surrounded by a really good pool of talent. So if you're going to succeed, this is a really good place to do it.
Yeah.
And step in right away and be productive, especially when you have a backfield like coming back. Desir Jones-Davis is coming back, and you've got a wide receiving core that's really fast rising in the recruiting ranks. And you've got those guys up front. I think 4 of their 5 linemen are back, so it's going to be pretty awesome for Sebastian Williams, who we'll grab here in a second. Other than that, a little tidbit here too. I mentioned that Stone Saunders going to milestones, chasing milestones. Coach Weachter, Jeff Weachter, is chasing 300 wins.
I mean, that's pretty good.
25th. So let's bring our guy Sebastian. Sebastian will give you a set of headphones here. Once you pop in the middle. That's all right. Pop them on there.
How's it going, Sebastian?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
You're okay, huh? Yep, I got it.
Yep.
All good.
All righty.
Okay.
So we know that precious few minutes before practice begins is tough to give up. So we appreciate you spending just a few minutes with us. Obviously, so far, how's things going? Dan and I just talked about the pressure of being a Bishop McDevitt quarterback, but that's what you sign up for, right?
Yeah, of course. This is what I have to do. I mean, I've been sitting behind Stone for about 2 years now. Honestly, it's been around 4 years because I've been around the program since 7th grade. I mean, him and Coach Weachter were able to prepare me very well for this situation and put me in the greatest position to succeed. And all my teammates and brothers right behind me have been really, really helpful along the way, and we've been really coming together as a team.
Yep. They're obviously, people in the program know the type of player you are. But again, people outside the program have seen Stone for a while, have seen you kind of on the bench watching. For those who haven't seen you yet, how would you kind of describe the way you play quarterback? Like, who are some guys you look up to, guys you model your game after, and what can they expect to see come Saturday at the York Rose Bowl?
I would feel like the Saturday at the York Rose Bowl, they'll be able to see a player that's very calm. And, I mean, honestly, things are going to go wrong in a football game, so you got to have, like, the next play mentality. So very calm, collected, and relying on my teammates to pick me up if I ever need it and be there for me. But also, I feel like I'm able to make accurate throws from the pocket, but if I have to get outside the pocket a little bit, maybe use my feet, scramble, look downfield, hit a target, or if I have to, just take off and scramble for a couple yards.
Yep. You're a 3-sport athlete, too, right? You played basketball, played lacrosse.
Sure.
How much does kind of playing those other sports help you? I always like talking to quarterbacks about this. We've seen guys like Patrick Mahomes, they were baseball players. Joe Burrow is a point guard, too. Just how much do those skills from the other sport kind of help you on the football field?
I feel like they do help a lot. I mean, keeping my ankles ready, like already mobility and stuff, keeping my hips unlocked and stuff to keep me mobility, keep me moving and stuff. So it keeps me in shape. Those other sports a lot, yeah.
Sebastian, there's so many moving parts when you're a quarterback. What's the one thing that you really want to work on over these next 10, 11 days so you can really hit the ground running? And, I mean, obviously you've been working on chemistry with wideouts. You've been working on your cadence. You've been working, getting comfortable behind the guys up front. But is there any little, whether it's a big part or small part of playing quarterback that you really want to kind of work on really, really hard over the next, week and a half?
I would say really for the week and a half that we have left, I would say probably, like you said, the chemistry with our wideouts and everything, I feel like that's like really coming along and getting very strong. I would say the timing, obviously from JV football to varsity football, it's a lot different, the pace. So really get that down. I've been working on that a lot with Coach Weachter, watching film, and just going over the overall defenses that we're going to see this season. So getting the timing down with my receivers.
I'm not certain. I have to go back and look, but I know one of the Canadian teams who was supposed to play McDevitt got stopped at the border because they had COVID and had to turn right around. So I don't think Stone Saunders, who obviously is Pennsylvania's all-time career leader in passing yards and passing touchdown, I don't think he has a win against an international opponent. Have you thought about the significance of that?
Yeah,
possible.
Honestly, it's crazy. I never thought I would be playing a Canada team, but here we go. It happens in almost less than a week.
Yeah. Kind of talking about Stone, you kind of mentioned it. Playing under him, what was that relationship like with Stone? I imagine, he was a guy, he obviously started from that very first freshman game, and so you were kind of behind him. How important was kind of that relationship in helping you develop, seeing him kind of go through what he went through?
That relationship with Stone was really important for me. It was almost like a brotherhood, and you think he didn't really have to do too much. He could have he took me under his wing as like a brother. It felt like a brotherhood, like I said. We were hanging out outside of practices, really building a relationship, talking football. I could really talk with him about anything. I'm still in touch with him, asking how is Kentucky going. He's asking me how here's going. So it's built off of how long I've known him for about like 4 years, and it's really continuing to grow.
Yep. Well, Sebastian, I think that's all. We don't want to take too much of your time. QB1, you got to get to practice. So
thanks, buddy.
Appreciate coming on.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, and we're going to one of his top targets next.
Right in the center.
Yep. We'll see if you can fit him under the canopy, or he's going to have to stand outside the canopy.
We'll stand outside the canopy.
How's it going, Liam?
What's up, guys?
All right, our next guest is he'll be in UConn next year, but we still have him in Harrisburg, PA now. Tight end Liam Fuller. Liam, how's camp going?
It's going great.
Yeah.
We got a lot of guys, picking stuff up and learning. A lot of young guys, positions to fill, but they're getting it. So it's going great. Yeah.
Is it going to be tough to steal receptions from this wide receiving core? Obviously you got a lot of young guns, the clawing over the ball. Obviously, and Sebastian under center too. What's the offense? It's a new look offense for sure, but it doesn't seem like there's any less firepower.
No, definitely not. I would say we all, as a core, kind of complement each other very well. We got a deep threat guys, and we got a lot of guys that just run great routes and can kind of get downfield, just make those possession catches, and you can kind of get me slinking off the attached position. So I would say, I think compared to last year, last year we had guys. As I'm sure you guys are aware, but this year I think it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. We have two great returning wide receivers that are capable of making plays, and so Sebastian's got a great arm. He's getting it down the field very well. So all the guys let their touches, but I think it's really everybody can make a play with the ball. So no matter whose hands the ball ends up in, someone's capable of making.
Yeah, and it's McDevitt, right? Because no one really cares if you put up stats if you're not winning football games, right? So and for you personally, I think one of the things that's I've enjoyed watching your career is that you don't get too many in high school. You don't get a ton of true tight ends, right? You get a lot of guys that are kind of playing out of position, or either more kind of offensive line based, or more receivers that are just lining up there. Liam's obviously a true tight end. You're going to be playing tight end at Division I UConn. How much pride do you kind of take in being able to do both of those things at a high level, kind of be that wide receiver from the tight end position, but also kind of get dirty and kind of help in the run game as a blocker too? Is that something you take pride in as a player?
Oh, absolutely. And having you guys remember Nick, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So having him ahead of me, kind of watching his play style, definitely kind of helped. And, kind of talking to Coach Weck, he kind of laid it out for me. He's like, we're not going to take that one guy. I mean, you're not going to come to McDevitt and be a receiving tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, we got receivers.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
We got guys that are running 4.4s. They don't need that kind of stuff. And we're not short on offensive linemen either. So, kind of embracing, doing both. I mean, growing up, I loved, Gronk and Jeremy Shockey.
Yeah.
I love those kind of guys.
Jeremy Shockey's a throwback for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
you probably had to watch some YouTube film of him.
So, watching those guys and kind of just trying to mimic my game after them, and kind of getting into my recruiting process, talking to coaches that are like, listen, we're not taking a guy that can do one thing. We can find big receivers and we can find guys that can block. So finding someone that has the versatility to do both, is what we look for the most. I've heard that for pretty much every single school. So I do take a lot of pride in it, and I'm very blessed to have the stature to do so. To do both. But I'm just very blessed and had a great program to kind of do all that kind of stuff. So I'm just I do take pride in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we have to ask you about Sebastian, obviously coming along and picking up where Stone left off. That's a huge part of this process and keeping this this freight train going after winning the states. So how has he developed? Just maybe it seems like a short time. The off season always gets shorter and shorter. The older you get. So just in maybe the last couple months, how's his progression been?
It's been great. Stone's an irreplaceable kind of guy, but as I'm sure he told you guys, he like mentored Stone or was looking
right.
Kind of Stone kind of mentored him, I guess, and took him, kind of everything he did. Sebastian was kind of glued to his hip a little bit, so he learned a lot from Stone, and a lot of it's just kind of little things, I would say, for Sebastian. A lot of it's like little timing things and stuff that he's picked up a lot on well, and
stuff that you're never going to really figure out until you're the starting quarterback under center, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Kind of just timing stuff up and, getting a look in a 7-on-7 as the backup and getting a look with a
getting ready for
defense full of D1 guys is a completely different look, So he's coming along very well. I'm excited. Stone, like I said, is irreplaceable, but I would say the next best thing is Sebastian Williams. So truly just loves the game, and I, try to get in, send him clips kind of what Stone would do, game film, and how to time stuff up, and how to, check in blocking, and obviously, you can't have a better coach teaching than Coach Weck. So,
good offensive mind for sure. Absolutely.
He's definitely going to pick it up. He's coming along very well, and he's a great kid, and I wouldn't rather have anyone else playing that position.
Yeah, but we talked about it when you committed, but obviously you're headed the UConn Division I program. It's been a program that had some highs, had some lows, but they've got a pretty big name coach there now, and Coach Moore and that group. Just how obviously you have a high school football season. You said you're focused on repeating, but how excited are you to be a UConn Husky and get up the stores and kind of make an impact there?
Man, it's just a surreal feeling. Like, it's still kind of sitting around. It doesn't even really feel real, that I get to go be a part of that. And, the visits were great. All the visits I went on were amazing. Coach Mora, obviously, he's a great guy. He knows what he's doing. And, the culture up there is unlike anything I saw at any other college, So that kind of made that decision easy on where I needed to be. But as far as going up and making an impact, I'm really just kind of going up there with the same mentality I have here. Go in early, learn from the guys ahead of me, and then kind of, just kind of follow the blueprint, and eventually, see the field and make some stuff happen. Everybody has the common goal of going to the league. I mean, mine's no different. So, going up there, got great connections in the CFL, the NFL, all that kind of stuff. So, just going to go up there and kind of just throw the kitchen sink at it, and
that's right.
Not going to hold back, and just just going to give it all I got and see where I can take it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you're going to do great there, but you have another year here. We're excited to watch you at the Rose Bowl on Saturday, next Saturday. So it should be a fun one.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Liam. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
boss is coming. You guys are getting ready to crank up.
Yes,
So.
sir.
All right. Thanks a lot, Liam.
Thanks, Liam.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble with Coach Weck. See you around.
Yeah, he's come stalking. He's stalking down the middle here.
Yeah. And it's funny, when we were talking about who we could talk to at McDevitt, it's like you could pick. We've already had a couple kids on. There's so many talented players on this team.
Yeah.
I think I've said it for a couple of years. I think Liam, because of what I was talking about there, that he isn't that guy that is getting drawn up number one passing routes every single play, but he makes such an impact as a blocker, such an impact as a big target in the red zone. I remember in the state championship game, I said he was going to be a impact guy in that game, and he had a pretty and wow, we've got the boss man here, so.
Oh, you want to give us a couple minutes?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. He's like Vince Vaughn. I'm not a talker.
Yeah.
No, I just gotta. It's in service, so I have to go to academic council.
Oh well,
You never see me late on the practice field.
You got duties to do.
Yeah.
Coach, well, first we appreciate you letting us set up here.
Anytime.
Obviously, coming off a fantastic season, it's going to be a little bit new look. Can you just give us a little bit strengths and weaknesses right now? I know you still got about 10 days before you guys fired up officially, but what are you guys really focused on here to kind of get the guys ready for 2025?
We're just trying to get better every day. We're experiencing some spots. We're a little young in some spots. Mm-hmm. So, we're just trying to get better every day, and that's how it'll be early in the season. Coaching as long as I have, that it takes you until about week 4 to really know your team, and so we've got two really good tests coming up the first 2 weeks. So. We'll see where we're at, but we're just again looking to get better.
Yeah, we feel like
Can you put the microphone just a tad closer?
Yep,
there we go. All right.
We feel like a broken record asking, but it's one of the biggest questions probably in the state is about Sebastian and kind of his progress, because we've heard great things about him all throughout his career. The work he's done as a backup. It's obviously a big leap going to be a starting quarterback in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth and for Bishop McDevitt. But all his teammates have spoken highly of him. What can you say about the work Sebastian's done to get ready for the year?
He's worked hard. It's a lot. In our offense. I probably dialed down a few things because, when Stone's been a pilot for 4 years, I have to catch myself sometimes. Like, listen, am I putting? Sometimes I think, and I got to maybe go back a little bit because I'm thinking, hey, do I put too much on him on the line of scrimmage? With some checks, calls, and things like that. Because, Stone could check us in a run, a pass. Stone knew where the RPOs were, who he was reading,
and that stuff that comes with reps, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And the other thing is which is big that Sebastian's still learning is. Stone could check us in. We run about 5 different pass pros. Stone could check us in and out of those things, and it's wish college coaches sitting there saying, I can't believe you got a high school kid doing this.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I got to remember, Sebastian's not quite there, and Stone was doing that when he was a junior and a senior, so he already had 2 years under his belt. So, but Sebastian's doing well. He's very talented, and look forward to some big things from him.
Yeah.
Coach, I mentioned earlier, we talked a little bit quickly to Sebastian, and we talked if it's any consolation, he's way ahead of the game in interviews. Okay. Sebastian, he's way ahead, years ahead, and Liam obviously is Liam. Liam's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So, I think you need 11 wins to hit 300. Are you thinking about that at all?
No.
I know you're. No.
He just needed to lay up.
I have to think about that kind of stuff.
Listen, it's. Every year's a new year. We tell the kids, and we learned some lessons in 23. Actually, I had a talk with Nick Saban about it when he came in for Rico. He asked me what happened, and I'm like, listen, we got complacent. We were blowing everybody out, and we played those 3 really tough games and won all 3. I thought we could be 0-3 coming into that. After that, and we got complacent, and so, we didn't practice as hard, and I left to go as a head coach. I take the blame for it. So we learned lessons there, and so last year was last year, this year is this year. My career is, when I retire, I might sit back and say, hey, that's great, but I'm not really concerned about it. I'm concerned about just trying to get our guys better and hopefully maybe compete for another state championship.
Yeah. And, we've talked a lot about the offense, but I think looking on paper, the defense has a chance to be a pretty special unit. Again, that linebacking core is a pretty special group. How excited are you? Because I thought last year, especially, with a guy like Stone, you kind of focus on the offense, rightfully so, but I thought that defense was such a big play defense, and it feels like there's a lot back. How are you excited to see that group?
Yeah, the defense, I've told our team that, the defense is going to have to carry us a little bit early in the season because of, being a new quarterback. And, it's just not new quarterback.
Yeah.
Our two offensive tackles
Yeah.
are on. So, but the defense, they did play well last year, but they were young last year, and this year we've got almost everybody back on defense.
Yeah.
And they're bigger, they're stronger, they're quicker. And what people don't realize is, Chris Thompson started all year and did a great job at defensive tackle for us. He couldn't play in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
right.
He's good now. Middle of the season, Tron Dennis starting as a freshman.
He's looked like a player.
Defensive end. He got bigger. Ja'Kai Logan midseason started playing defensive tackle. And we've had a couple other defensive linemen, David Maltesnik, Jack Dawson, Spencer Musty, that got playing time. The linebackers are all back. R.J. Duffy did a great job. He's a little underlooked. R.J., started the last 8 games because
and then went on to have a quite. I don't know how many swimming state swimmers you've had on your roster.
Yeah. He came on for Benny Brooks when he got hurt after the Cumberland Valley game. He's back. Maurice is a 4-year starter.
Yeah.
Swoops, did a great job at linebacker. We got some other younger linebackers. Most of the secondary's back. So, we're really excited about the defense. And like I said, we told them they've got to kind of carry us until the offense catches up.
Yeah. Well,
Coach, that's good for us.
Yep.
Start practice.
Okay.
I'm sorry to make you late.
Yeah.
No problem.
We appreciate your time, and thanks again for letting us set up.
Yeah.
Well, school made me late.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
All right.
All right. Appreciate it, Coach.
We'll blame them. Thanks, Coach. All right. So that was head coach Jeff Weachter. Weck doesn't really go out on a limb.
Yeah.
Unless we should be really good here. We should be really. And obviously, you got some guys moving into different positions.
Those first 2 weeks, those first 2 weeks are a big test, though.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think that this Canadian team is, did they play Emotep last year?
Very respectable against Imhotep down at the York Rose Bowl. It's 38-20 final. Very respectable against a very good Imhotep team. So there's very few. Let's be honest. There's very few Canadian franchises. It's probably 2 that actually have the players playing American style of football that could potentially give a team like McDevitt some problems.
Yep.
So, that's the way to put it.
And then they have their biggest. I know probably Wack might kind of try to downplay a little bit, but that Harrisburg game's the biggest regular season game of the year. It just
Week 2, the Battle of the Berg.
Yeah.
I think
at least to fans and people around the community. You might say a Week 2 game as a coach, you're not at your best. You want to be playing at your best. But in terms of eyes on it, that's the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, I think this will be like 38th meeting, something like that. McDevitt's got a 21-16 advantage in this series. But again, last year was a howitzer. It was the overtime game. We're stone rolled out, missed it long.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see there's some players that weren't in that game last year, like Kevin Brown didn't play in that game.
That's right.
I'm excited to see that matchup. See him try to block some of these linebackers and see him on defense. That's going to be a heck of a game. We've almost every week in the Commonwealth is going to be appointment television. We were talking about kind of off the record about who are some of the sleeper teams. And it's like there's that big 4, right? There's
we're lucky in the sense that when we do a lot of the preseason stuff, we talk to coaches, and the coaches basically send us where they believe the order of finish will be 1 through 10. There's 10 schools now in the Commonwealth at Keystone. So we're lucky we don't have to pick them because I would think picking 1, 2 this year would be almost impossible.
And,
yes,
those 3-4 teams, if a couple things break their way, they could be right there with
3-4 being Cumberland Valley and State College.
Like that State College, program. If they find a guy to replace Eddie Corkery, they could be really good. And Cumberland Valley, we know the high end talent they have, and I think this is the year. Josh Oswald's been there for 4 years now. This is kind of when you kind of get those programs, and it's
interesting. State College is an interesting thing. You're going to have some new quarterbacks in the Commonwealth. Josh Hinton looks like he's going to take over Cedar Cliff. Blake Seacrest was a 4-year guy.
Blake's still there.
I'm sorry, Bennett. It was a 4-year guy there and passed for like 4,000 yards, almost 50 touchdown passes. So you have to replace him. Josh Hinton looks like the guy. But State College it could be a unique situation. Years ago, they were flipping Corkery and Owen Zerka. Or Yurka, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They were flipping back and forth. One was maybe the passer and one was the runner. They may
And then
have
you can
another
kinda-
scenario
yeah.
with Kellen Williams being being probably the better passer, and they have young Finn Firmanek. You recognize
Yeah,
the name,
yeah.
the younger brother, and he could be more of the running guy. So they could run a platoon system at quarterback, or one could get 75-25, whatever. But that'll be an interesting development to see what happens between
Yeah,
those.
I
two
mean,
guys.
Harrisburg's got. It sounds like it's going to be Shank there. We don't know for sure yet, but it sounds like it's going to be Michael Shank playing quarterback. Could be Jalen Lewis, but all indications are Shank will be given a chance.
I think if you're confident, you have, and again, nothing against Michael Shank, nothing against him, but you have a really tough decision because what Jalen Lewis did last year, being thrust into that position, essentially 10 days before the season started, and the season he has, the kind of athlete he is. Granted, he was a wideout,
Yep.
and would be unbelievable as a wideout too. But
I see the argument, though, because you do lose Quincy Brandon, which I think people are kind of overlooking. I mean, obviously, Harrisburg's got all the talent in the world back, but
Sure.
Quincy Brandon was a heck of a player on both sides of the ball
Absolutely.
for them. They need to replace that production as a receiver on offense, and if anyone could do it, Jalen Lewis is kind of that type of player along with Demir Arp. And so then you get Michael Shank, who we've seen that kid throw. If you get that guy dialed in with Elias Koch, that's going to be a pretty unstoppable connection.
and Harrisburg's going to have the offensive line to
Drop back and throw.
to protect him.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think that's going to be what's going to happen.
Colton Stamey on Cumberland Valley's a guy I'm excited to see because he was a guy that kind of came out of nowhere for us. I think Josh Oswald kind of said, they weren't sure if he was going to be – he was a freshman last year. They weren't
Right.
sure if he was going to make that way into that varsity action. But there were some injuries or some circumstances got him in there, and he looked pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
I think he was the quarterback when they beat Harrisburg. I could be wrong. I think there might have been an injury there, and Shepley played a little bit. But I think that Colton Stamey kid has a lot of potential, and they've got weapons. Zayden Smith's got Penn State and Ohio State offers.
Yep.
Elijah Sherman's got a Duquesne offer. That kid is electric as well. They're going to miss Nolan Bazolka at tight end. That guy, Nolan was one of the most fun guys to watch in any sport the last few years.
You miss him double because of his blocking skills and obviously being able to catch the pass. He was a very good route runner, and just you miss guys like that.
But you forget that Commonwealth Valley beat Harrisburg last year, and
They did.
They are a team that has proven they can play with these top teams. It's what separates teams like Bishop McDevitt and Harrisburg is they take care of business almost every time they need to. The Commonwealth Valley game was kind of Harrisburg's one slip up. McDevitt's was State College, but you can
Commonwealth Valley slip up was Chambersburg.
Yeah, it's like you can rely.
Another one.
The difference between these top teams and bottom teams isn't what their ceiling is. It's what the floor is.
Right, exactly. There's not a huge. I mean, we talk about the drop off between the big four and the rest, the six rest. But you're right. It's about the floor.
Yeah,
it really is.
And Harrisburg and Bishop McDevitt's floor is just so high.
And there's always a little bit unknown when it comes to Altoona.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of unknown when it comes to CD East. We know they lost a couple of players, and obviously Damaj Jala was their 3-year starting quarterback. He's gone. So, they've got some holes to fill there.
And then Central Dauphin, we haven't even talked about Central Dauphin.
Right.
That's a program that used to be at the top of this conversation every year. And you can never write. I don't care what their record was last year. You can never write off a Glenn McNamee team.
No, the Rams were so young and raw last
Yeah.
year, and it was like I say, I always use the word because when I talked to Glenn late in the season, it was just there was a frustration there, and it wasn't just from the coaching staff; it was from the players too. Because even though the work was being put in, just nothing gelled, nothing came together. Where they could have that little, especially late in the season, you could get those 2-3 wins in a row and make yourself feel good going into the offseason.
But they're the last mid-pen.
Just
They're the last
didn't happen.
mid-pen program from the top classification to win a state title. I mean,
That's correct.
There's still you still can't ignore the blue. But we're a couple years from them putting 2 offensive linemen in Division I programs.
That 2011 team for CD was just an absolute lesson in toughness because their biggest lineman that year was about 260, and everybody else was about 210 soaking wet. And it was just all about toughness, but that's the kind of program that Coach McNamee runs.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if if you're trying to dial up a sleeper
Yeah.
in the Commonwealth,
Just based on
you
size.
would figure it's one of the sisters, right?
Yeah.
You would figure it's CD East or it's Central Dolphin. But we
I
talked a little about Chambersburg having Keegan Truitt
and their
quarterback,
and I just think having a coach like Gary Carter, who was there
Yep.
the last time Chambersburg was Chambers had some good teams. He was the quarterback in the '90s back when they were a truly elite team. I think they went 10-0 that year in the regular season. I think having winners like that around your program matters.
Yes.
Not that, and that's nothing to say about. I think Mark Luther did a terrific job there.
Yeah.
I think all his kids graduated. He thought it was the right time to go, and I think he did a great job there. But then the other team that I'm just pointing out is Cedar Cliff, year 2 in 6A. They're up against it because they're probably one of the smaller 6A schools.
Right.
But we know what Colin Gillen does at that program. He builds offensive lines, and he runs behind those offensive lines. They lose P.J. Dent, but that offensive line's really good. They've got Blake Seacrest back at tight end, who they're pretty high on. Will Coker's a good linebacker on their team as well. They've got some guys. I wouldn't be shocked if they play a game or two that win a game or two that not many people that you might line as a 10-point underdog or something. They come out and shock some people. So
yeah, Blake Seacrest is a heat seeker on defense.
Another program too that I was talking about. I was at Hershey's practice yesterday talking with Cam Sweeney about how the basketball run kind of bleeds into the football season a little bit. A lot of the Cedar Cliff baseball players that just won a state title on a walk-off block, a lot of them are playing football. So
back they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, again, these are different sports, but I've always been a huge believer. You can talk to the Camp Hill kids a few years ago that winning in other sports bleeds into the other sports because it builds that sort of belief in, we are kind of top athletes in the area, and, we just feel experiencing winning. It really is like a contagious thing.
Well, too, when you string together these seasons, too, you're never starting over as the camaraderie.
Yeah.
You're never starting from
And
scratch.
it's so big in football. It's so big in football.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've seen, it's strange because, back in the leather helmet days when I played, Chambersburg, we would win the game. But you would hurt for a week. I mean, they were just tough as nails.
And that's how you build culture.
And they're just over the course of this stretch, Mark Luther did a fantastic job getting maximum out of what he had. But even though you have bodies, it doesn't necessarily translate sometimes into a strong program and a winning program. So it was tough to build those wins.
In this division too, it just
this is what happens in the Commonwealth. This is why this is
you could argue
the best division
in the
big school division in the state.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Every week you could just punch a ticket to the top Commonwealth game of the week, and you'd be seeing some good football with a lot of guys that have a chance to. Who knows? Be playing on Sundays one day. It's such a division, and this year in particular, with all the high end talent, and even not the high, even the even the guys below the 4-star recruits. We just talked to Liam Fuller. In another year, he might be one of the top recruits in the area. And this year, it's like, I forgot Liam Fuller's the tight end for Bishop McDevitt and is going to UConn because there's so much talent in this division.
There is a lot of talent. There are a lot of guys who are already committed. There are a lot of guys who are going to sign early in December when the early signing day comes along, and obviously there's going to be probably a handful of guys that enroll early.
Yeah, but even in Keystone Division, we just had Colin Stair commit to Central Michigan. I think that's a good get for that program. He told me they told me he was number 1 on their board, and that kid's a player.
We were touting Stair early on. When I saw Mechanicsburg early in the season last year, and I'm just like, man, this guy. He just played with such passion.
He's versatile too. Plays all over the line.
And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. He started to get offers.
March.
And this and that.
He said he had 0 offers in March. Ended up with 13. Ends up at Division I as a senior. I mean, I think that tells you. But yeah, it's like there's so much depth of talent in the.
There is.
We just did our 25 for 25 list. There's definitely some guys that are going to have an argument in a few years. So.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously this team behind us has a bunch of younger guys too who we're going to talk a lot about.
Yeah, I think there's some. Yeah, definitely McDevitt. There's a lot of those sophomore guys that flashed last year that might become superstars this year.
Absolutely. Well, if you haven't gotten a chance, obviously check out PennLive. Pretty much every day there's going to be preview information on every Mid-Penn division.
Yep, just finished up the Keystone Division day.
Dan's doing the Keystone Division preview stuff. All that ran today, Thursday morning.
Yep.
Commonwealth will be out Friday morning. We'll have all-star teams for each. We've got, obviously, storylines for each division.
We'll be at some scrimmages on Saturday. Yep, I'll be at Camp Hill, Susquehanna Township.
I don't know where I'm going yet,
I think,
but I'll be somewhere.
Yeah. And Bruce will be somewhere as well too. We got some video content as well. Bruce is going all the way down to my old stomping grounds down
going down to Philly.
Bruce is going down to Lansdale, so
he's going for the cheese.
Yeah, Bruce, you can stay at my parents' house. So how about that? But yeah, it's football season's here. I can't believe it. So we're going back to two podcasts a week soon. So that's also exciting as well.
Well, we are number 2 in the country. So
yeah,
we have to keep it going.
And
right?
yeah, we're gonna have the same duo for those who are looking. It's gonna be 3Jacker and Dan_Sostek together. So
that's right. We're the Waggle podcast.
Yeah, the Waggle. Yeah,
high school football.
Hopefully get some more content out of our studio, which kind of builds up some cobwebs during the spring. But we're gonna again another call. We're not supposed to do call to actions, but if you have helmets or any decorations you want us to put in that studio, 1900 Patriot Ave.
We never take them home and wear them.
No.
Never.
I mean, I would pay to see some Epler stiff arm Heisman poses with some of those helmets, but and
Epler's not going to win the Heisman ever.
No. You're more of a Nagurski Award winner.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But yeah, it's an exciting time, and obviously we're trying to get more of this video content out on the PA High School Football Report. This is obviously on Facebook. I know we're going to get some stuff on Instagram. Always looking for more people to talk to, whether that's the video coming in the studio or whatever. We're always looking to kind of expand what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
So this was a fun experience. Who knows? We might be out in the field next week too. So we'll see. But,
yeah, we'll see.
It was a fun episode. I think that'll do it though.
All right, that'll do it for the PA High School Football Report. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you stay hydrated too.
Yeah.
See you next week.